The spaceship hummed softly as it drifted through the black void between stars, and Jake Martinez stood in his small quarters staring at his reflection in the metal panel that served as a mirror aboard the human colony vessel. He had been living on this transport ship for 6 months now, traveling from Earth to the new settlement on Kepler 442b, and in all that time he had barely spoken to anyone except for the occasional nod in the cafeteria or a quick greeting in the narrow hallways. But today was different because Jake had finally worked up the courage to ask out Lieutenant Amy Chen from the navigation deck, and she had said yes. The problem was that Jake had no idea what to wear or how to act on a date, especially one that would take place in the recreation room of a spaceship where privacy was almost impossible, and everyone knew everyone else's business. He ran his fingers through his dark hair and sighed deeply, wondering if he should just cancel the whole thing and save himself the embarrassment. Then he remembered his neighbor Lisa Grant lived in the quarters right next to his, and he had heard her moving around through the thin walls for months now, but they had never really talked beyond a polite hello when they passed each other in the corridor. She was a botanist working on the agricultural section of the ship, and Jake had seen her a few times in the greenhouse tending to the plants that would eventually feed the colony once they reached their destination. He had always thought she seemed nice with her warm smile and the way she hummed quietly to herself when she worked, but he had been too shy to strike up a real conversation. Now, though, he was desperate enough to ask for help. Jake stepped out of his quarters and knocked on the door panel next to his and waited nervously, shifting his weight from one foot to the other. After a moment, the door slid open with a soft hiss, and Lisa stood there in her casual off-duty clothes, looking surprised to see him. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a loose ponytail, and her green eyes widened slightly as she looked at him. "Hey, Jake," she said with a friendly smile that made something flutter in his chest, though he pushed the feeling aside. "Is everything okay? Yeah. Jake stammered, feeling suddenly foolish. "I have a date tonight, and I was wondering if you could help me." He watched as her smile faltered just for a second, so brief he almost missed it before it returned, though it seemed a little less bright than before. "Oh," she said quietly. "A date?" "Yeah." Jake continued, not noticing the change in her expression, "with Amy from navigation. And I have no idea what to do. I mean, what do you even wear on a date in space, and what do you talk about? I thought, maybe since you're better at this stuff than me, you could give me some advice." Lisa stood there in the doorway, and for a long moment she didn't say anything. Her eyes searched his face as if looking for something, and Jake felt uncomfortable, under her gaze, wondering if he had said something wrong. Then she took a deep breath and crossed her arms over her chest. "You really don't see it, do you?" she said softly. "See what?" Jake asked. "Confused?" "That I like you," Lisa said, and the words hung in the air between them like a physical thing. Jake felt his mouth go dry and his heart started pounding in his chest. He stared at her, unable to process what she had just said because it didn't make any sense. She liked him. How could she like him when they barely knew each other? But even as he thought it, he realized that wasn't quite true. They had been neighbors for 6 months, and even though they hadn't talked much, he had noticed her. He had noticed the way she always smiled when she saw him, and the way she sometimes left extra rations of fresh vegetables outside his door, with a little note saying she had grown too many. He had noticed how she always seemed to be in the common area at the same time he was, and how she laughed at his awkward jokes even when they weren't funny. He had noticed all of it, but he had been so focused on Amy Chen with her confident stride and her sharp intelligence that he hadn't let himself think about what any of it meant. "Lisa," Jake started, but the words died in his throat because he didn't know what to say. Lisa looked down at her feet and then back up at him with a sad smile. "It's okay," she said. "I shouldn't have said anything. You have a date, and I should just help you like a good neighbor would." "No, wait," Jake said, reaching out to touch her arm gently. "I'm sorry, I didn't realize." She shook her head. "How could you? I never told you. But I thought maybe you would notice on your own. I thought maybe when I brought you those tomatoes last week, or when I asked if you wanted to watch that old Earth movie with me, that you would understand." Jake felt a wave of guilt wash over him as he remembered those moments. He had thanked her for the tomatoes and eaten them without thinking much about it. He had turned down the movie invitation because he said he was tired, but the truth was he had been planning to find Amy in the cafeteria that evening. I was an idiot, he said quietly. Lisa smiled a little wider this time, and there was something genuine in it. Maybe a little, she agreed, but it's not your fault. You like someone else, and that's okay. Jake stood there in the hallway, and for the first time he really looked at Lisa. He saw the kindness in her eyes and the way she held herself with quiet confidence even, though she had just admitted something vulnerable. He saw the small scar on her chin that she had told him came from a fall when she was learning to climb trees as a kid back on Earth. He saw the way her hair caught the artificial light of the ship and the gentle curve of her smile, and he realized that he had been blind. Amy Chen was beautiful and smart and impressive, but she was also distant and formal even when she talked to him. Their conversations were always about work or the mission, and Jake had convinced himself that was what he wanted, someone serious and focused. But Lisa was different. She was warm and easy to be with, and she made him feel comfortable in a way that no one else on this ship did. She made him feel like home. Jake took a breath and made a decision that surprised even himself. Can I cancel the date, he asked. Lisa blinked. What with Amy? Jake said, can I cancel it? And instead, take you to the recreation room tonight. We could watch that movie you mentioned, the one you wanted to see last week. Lisa stared at him and he could see the conflict in her eyes. You don't have to do that, she said. I don't want you to feel obligated. I'm not doing it because I feel obligated. Jake said, and he realized as he spoke that it was true. I'm doing it because I was too stupid to see what was right in front of me this whole time. You've been kind to me since the day we met, and I took it for granted. I want to make that right if you'll let me. Lisa bit her lip and he could see her trying not to smile too widely. Are you sure, she asked, because if this is just pity, it's not pity. Jake interrupted. I promise. I want to spend time with you. I want to get to know you better, and maybe if I'm lucky you might give me a chance even though I clearly don't deserve. Lisa laughed, then a real genuine laugh that made Jake smile despite his nervousness. Okay, she said. Yes, I would like that. Jake felt relief flood through him. Great. He said, I'll go talk to Amy and explain. She deserves to know the truth. Lisa nodded and... Jake, yeah. Thank you for being honest. Jake smiled at her. Thank you for telling me how you felt. I know that wasn't easy. Lisa reached out and squeezed his hand briefly. You'll see you tonight then. Yeah. Jake said, tonight. He turned and walked down the corridor toward the navigation deck, his heart still racing. But now for a completely different reason. When he found Amy, she was reviewing star charts on one of the display screens, and she looked up when he approached. Hey. Jake, she said with a professional smile. Ready for tonight. Actually, Jake said. I need to talk to you about that. Amy must have seen something in his expression because her smile faded. You want to cancel? She said. Jake nodded, feeling terrible. I'm sorry. Something came up. Someone came up, actually. Amy studied him for a moment, and then she nodded slowly. The botanist, she said. Your neighbor. Jake was surprised. How did you know? Amy shrugged. I've seen the way she looks at you in the cafeteria. And honestly, I think I've seen the way you look at her too. Even if you didn't realize it. Jake felt his face heat up. I'm really sorry. Amy waved a hand dismissively. Dumpy, I only said yes to the date because I thought it might be nice to have some company, but I wasn't looking for anything serious. Go be with her. She clearly cares about you a lot. Thank you, Jake said, genuinely grateful for her understanding. Amy turned back to her star charts, and Jake. Yeah, next time pay more attention to what's right in front of you. You might save yourself some trouble. Jake laughed. I will. That night, Jake met Lisa in the recreation room, and they sat together on one of the worn couches watching an old movie from Earth about explorers discovering a new world. Lisa sat close to him, and halfway through the film, she rested her head on his shoulder. Jake wrapped his arm around her and felt a sense of contentment he hadn't experienced in a long time. As the credits rolled, Lisa looked up at him with those green eyes that he had been too blind to appreciate before. This was nice, she said, softly. Yeah, Jake agreed. It really was. They sat there in the dim light of the recreation room while the rest of the ship hummed around them, carrying them forward through space toward their new home. And Jake realized that home wasn't just a place you traveled to. Sometimes it was a person who had been right next to you all along, waiting for you to notice. He looked at Lisa and smiled, knowing that he would never make the mistake of overlooking her again.